After my surgery, my son and daughter-in-law left me behind, but that night revealed an incredible truth. The faint sound of my hospital room door swayed open and closed. But when I looked up, I saw only the empty corridor. My heart, stitched and bruised from surgery, ached not just for its own struggle, but for the deep crevices of abandonment. Mike and Clara had vanished. They'd packed up their lives for a golden opportunity in the city, leaving me to navigate this unfamiliar world of recovery alone. I was a man of the land, a farmer, molded by hard work and quiet dignity. The thought that my own family wouldn't prioritize me felt like a punch to the gut. Back home, the farm felt emptier than ever. Shadows surrounded me as I tried to mend the old wooden fences, symbols of my determination, my legacy. Each post I tightened sent jolts of pain through my chest, both physically and emotionally. I was reminded of times filled with warmth, laughter echoing through our home as Mike and Clara chased fireflies in the backyard. Those days felt worlds away now. Rumors rippled through the community like the wind ruffling wheat fields. A neighbor mentioned that Mike and Clara might not return. I felt the air escape my lungs as I grappled with that knife of despair twisting deeper. Would they choose ambition over me, their own father's needs? Memories twisted into sharp barbs, leaving me wondering if all of my sacrifices had meant anything. Summoning the last ounce of strength, I decided to put on a brave face and head to the annual fair. It had been a long time since I felt like I belonged anywhere, but maybe tonight would change that. As I traversed through the fairgrounds, the laughter of children and the waft of cotton candy flooded my senses. Faces I recognized filled the space, smiling, chatting, celebrating together. I felt hope rise like the balloons dancing in the evening sky, but then the wind shifted. A storm rolled in, dark clouds blanketing the summer night. Just when I was beginning to breathe again, a gust of wind, as fierce as my heartache, knocked a tree down, sending it crashing onto me. Trapped, I cried out, the world spinning as debris and branches tangled with my thoughts. I was alone, left with my wavering thoughts. How far had I drifted from my family? Was I just a shadow of who I had once been? Meanwhile, in the city, the call came through. Mike and Clara gripped the phone tightly, heartbeats racing upon hearing about their father's accident. A rush of guilt pierced through them. Should we go back? We can't just leave him. Their urban dreams collided with a painful decision. Ambition versus the man who raised them. Back at the fairground, my community rallied around me, pulling me from the physical wreckage that echoed the turmoil of my heart. Voices of friends called out, their faces blending together, yet recognizable, a tapestry of support. And then it hit me what really defined family. It wasn't just blood, it was the love, the sacrifices, and the bonds forged through hardships. Just as I pondered this, I saw headlights coming through the storm. There was a chance, a flicker of hope breaking through the chaos. Would Mike make it back in time? Would family stand against the tempest, or would they be swept away by the winds of ambition? The heart-racing mystery lingered in the air as darkness enveloped me. My fate was uncertain, but what I felt most was a tide of longing, hope, and perhaps a new beginning. The headlights finally broke through the inky darkness, illuminating faces filled with worry and determination. I could barely lift my head out of the rubble, but the shouts of my neighbors poured over me like a warm blanket. Then suddenly, I heard a familiar voice, strained yet steady. "Dad, we're here." It was Mike, his voice cutting through the frenzy like a beacon. In that moment, the whirlwind of emotions that had been choking me eased. I knew they had left to chase new dreams, but could love truly bridge this vast distance? Could forgiveness and rekindled familial bonds rise from the ashes of my pain? The chaos enveloping the fairgrounds began to fade as Mike and Clara emerged through the crowd. They wasted no time. Their strong arms carefully pulled debris away from me like rescuers in an action movie. Clara's worried eyes met mine, and something stirred within me. I saw her love, raw and fierce, despite the distance that separated us over the months. Did they truly understand how much I needed this moment? As my friends and family lifted me and took me toward safety, I couldn't tear my gaze from Mike and Clara. They had made it, driven through the storm for me. The pain in my chest felt secondary to the swell of gratitude warming my heart. It dawned on me that family wasn't merely about geography or decisions made. It was an unwavering foundation that refused to buckle under pressure. Once away from the wreckage, I sank into a waiting ambulance. The medic gently examined me, but my focus was consumed by a whirlwind of thoughts. The storm had done its worst, yet here they were, by my side, willing to confront the heart-wrenching truth. We had been apart, but my son and daughter-in-law had returned when it mattered most. In a world that could so easily fragment bonds, our love had the power to mend. "Dad," Mike began, voice trembling as he reached for my hand, but I could sense the right words were yet to come. I released a shaky breath, feeling the tension that had gripped me up to this point begin to unravel. "I missed you, son," I finally managed, my voice cracking under the weight of what I had stored inside. Clara spoke softly. We were scared when we heard her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. We didn't know how serious it was. The sound of sirens began to wane as we settled into an uneasy calm. I felt like a seed set adrift, untethered by my previous decisions and now nurturing the hope of replanting. The bonds that knit us together had stretched, but not broken. As they squeezed my hand, I felt a reprieve from the loneliness that had gripped me. The warmth of healing was slowly replacing the fractures of neglect. But suddenly, as the ambulance rolled toward the hospital, I wondered, how would our family find a way forward? Would ambition still pull them away? And would the ache of separation return? Or was this moment a turning point? The uncertainty loomed ahead, wild and unpredictable, and though the storm had quelled outside, I could feel internal turbulence brewing. What lay on the horizon for us? Would we emerge fully mended, or would old wounds surface once again? The ambulance jolted slightly as it sped away from the fairgrounds, sirens wailing like distant banshees. I felt almost weightless in the back, buoyed by my children's presence and the palpable relief that washed over me. Every bump made me wince, but it was a minor inconvenience against the emotional storm brewing in my heart. As we pulled into the hospital, the steady hum of medical equipment became the new soundtrack of my life. Bright lights flickered overhead as I was wheeled into the ER, Mike and Clara close behind, their hands brushing against me in a silent agreement that we were all in this together. "Dad, stay strong," Mike whispered, voice laced with urgency and a quiet plea. I could see the tension in his brow, the lines that age and worry had etched into his handsome face. The life he had once wanted far from home seemed like a distant memory now. "I'm here," I replied, summoning what strength I had. "I'm still here." The doctors rushed in, a blur of white coats and masked faces, but all I could focus on was the warmth of Mike's hand over mine. Clara clutched a corner of the gurney, her eyes darting between me and the medics like a hawk ready to swoop in. I wanted to tell them it would be okay, but in the pit of my stomach, I felt the familiar churn of fear. As they prepped me for surgery, uncertainty clawed at my heart. The doctor informed me of the procedure, but his words became background noise as my thoughts wandered back to how everything had shifted. I hadn't fully grasped how much I missed them until this moment of clarity hit me. The surgical team began their work. Sweet oblivion washed over me as the anesthetic took hold, my final thoughts swirling around what it would mean to emerge from this surgery with my family close by. Hours later, I awoke in recovery, feeling both clouded and alert. I blinked against the harsh light, searching for familiar faces. Panic gripped me when I realized the room was empty. The beeping heart monitor felt like an echo of my racing thoughts. Where were they? Moments felt like eternity. Just as despair began to creep in, the door swung open, and in they rushed Mike first, then Clara, relief flooding their features like the dawn breaking after a long night. "Dad," Mike exclaimed, inching closer, eyes wide with emotion. "You made it." With effort, I smiled, though exhaustion pinned me to the bed. "Didn't you know? I'm not that easy to get rid of." Clara let out a relieved laugh, her fingers intertwining with mine. "Thank God," she murmured, choking back tears. "We were so worried." In the comforting presence of my children, the walls that had radiated chilly isolation began to melt away. I could feel the warmth of their love radiating off them, healing the jagged edges of doubt and regret. "Listen," Mike said, fresh determination brightening his voice. "We need to talk about what comes next." At that moment, the weight of unknown futures pressed down on me once again. What did that even mean? Would they stay? Or would they drift back into their separate lives like before? The enormity of those questions loomed like a shadow in the bright recovery room. For once, I wanted more than just survival. I craved connection, longing to rebuild what had been lost. But as I looked at their eager faces, a flicker of hope ignited. Perhaps this time, we could forge something stronger from our struggles. And just as clarity began to settle over us, the door swung wide open again. Another doctor stepped in, and with him, the mysterious uncertainty of what lay ahead. My heart raced as I prepared for the answers that might change everything again. Would they figure things out this time, or would everything unravel once more? The doctor entered with a calm demeanor, but his presence felt heavy, like a storm cloud shadowing over our moment. I steadied myself, the bed beneath me yet another reminder of my vulnerability. He glanced at my charts, flipping through the pages, each rustle amplifying the silence in the room. "Mr. Jenkins," he began, his voice steady but tempered with caution. "You had a successful surgery. There were some complications, but we managed. You're going to be okay." Relief washed over me, mixing with the anxiety that still lingered. I looked at Mike and Clara, their expressions mirroring a tumult of hope and fear. "Complications?" Mike asked, his brow furrowed deeper. The doctor took a breath, a practiced pause that sparked alarm. "It's nothing you need to worry about right now. We'll keep monitoring you. I just want to underline the importance of recovery and support during this time." Support. The word hung in the air. I could see their concern creeping back in, shadows drawn across their faces. I needed them to lighten up. I had survived the worst. "Look," I said, mustering what little strength remained. "I want us to talk about the future. I want to hear about the plans you've made, the things you want to do. I don't want you to feel trapped here." Clara leaned in closer, her voice a soft whisper. "Dad, we're here for you. Nothing else matters right now." I could see her sincerity, but there was a pulse of truth beneath it, a hint of resistance. Perhaps they had their lives to lead, their own dreams. "Let us focus on getting you well first," Mike interjected, a voice of reason as always, but I caught the flicker in his eye, an unspoken question. Did he think this would lead me back into the role of a distant observer? Hours passed like water slipping through my fingers. I had these moments of clarity, flashes of certainty where I envisioned walks in the park, family dinners filled with laughter, my role renewed. But then dread crept in, whispering doubts of whether I was worthy of their time. When evening fell, the sun casting golden streaks across the room, I tried to reassure myself. Maybe it would be easier, I thought, if I surrendered my needs, if I learned to step back. Perhaps that was the selfless thing to do. But as they chatted quietly, talking about new memories we could make, I felt something shift in me. A sense of resolve sparked as I watched Mike's hand fumbling with Clara's. The closer they got, the more I realized I was being inspired. "Hey," I interrupted, cutting through their gentle banter. "What if we took a trip somewhere together? Just the three of us. We can reconnect, maybe even visit that cabin at Lake Pine?" They looked at me, a mix of surprise and wonder flooding their expressions. It had been years since we had shared a family getaway. The idea of the cabin felt like a lifeline thrown into choppy waters. "Dad," Clara started, uncertain. "Please," I implored, feeling the weight of the moment diffracting into something precious. "Let us not allow this to be just about recovery. Let us make it a turning point. I want us to experience life together again." The room fell quiet, but inside me, my heart was racing. Would they say yes? Was I asking for too much? Just then, the door creaked open a fraction of an inch, letting in a sliver of the bustling corridor sounds. A nurse poked her head through with a warm smile, a welcome distraction. While she handed me some medicine, I could see Mike and Clara exchanging glances, weighing possibilities, emotions swirling between them. And it hit me like a spark. This conversation, this moment, it felt crucial. We were on the edge of a breakthrough, but what lay beyond? Would they embrace the change, or would they retreat back into the lives they had built apart from me? I couldn't help but wonder. Would the idea of family become a beacon of hope, or merely a fleeting wish? The uncertainty loomed like a cloud in the back of my mind, casting doubt over the fragile light now warm with intent. I squeezed Clara's hand tighter, feeling the pulse of my heart settle into rhythm with theirs. "Let us decide together." But part of me braced for the answer, what if we couldn't? What if reconnecting meant risking everything again? The room felt frozen as I waited for their response. I was riding a roller coaster of emotions, and the atmosphere thickened like molasses. Clara looked down at her feet, and Mike rubbed the back of his neck, deep in thought. I held my breath, hoping my suggestion hadn't landed too heavily. Dad, Clara finally whispered, her voice laced with tenderness. I just want to make sure you're really ready for something like that. Maybe it's not just about me, I replied, my heart racing against my ribs. Maybe it's about us. All of us. Together. I mean, we've been so distant for so long. I want to change that. Mike exchanged a glance with Clara, and I could see the gears turning behind their eyes. The quiet moments stretched, taking on weight that I could almost feel pressing against my chest. Are you sure it's what you want? Mike asked slowly, his voice steady as he attempted to gauge the truth behind my words. You have to focus on your recovery first. We have to make sure you're ready for what a trip like that means. I am ready, I insisted, feeling a surge of passion. I was trapped by my own beliefs for far too long. Don't let me convince you it's not worth it. I have everything to look forward to. Just then, a soft laugh escaped Clara, breaking the tension. I can already picture you trying to start a campfire, Dad. The warmth in her voice wrapped itself around the moment, pulling it from the depths. Okay, I'm in. What do you think, Mike? I asked, hopeful. A family trip could be the best medicine there is. He sighed, visibly torn but slowly giving way. If you feel up to it, then maybe we should do it. Just, let us keep it easy, okay? Start slow. I could feel a flicker of light ignite in my chest. Of course. There's no pressure. Just time together. The joy that filled Clara's face was infectious. We can plan hikes by the lake, afternoons in the sun. Remember when we played that silly card game? You kept trying to hide the cards under the table. The laughter that filled the room felt like a release, a weight lifting. We were treading softly towards something beautiful, weaving through years of distance. What about the mornings? I added, grinning now. The smell of coffee and pancakes? I'll take the lead on cooking. I'll give it my best shot. Mike chuckled, the worry lines on his forehead easing a bit. Just don't burn the place down, all right? As we continued tossing around ideas, a shift took place. The heaviness that had cloaked us began to dissipate, revealing more than hopeful wishes. It unveiled possibility. I could see their visions intertwining with mine, an opportunity to rewrite our story. As they chatted animatedly, I stared out the window, watching the last rays of sun dip below the horizon. The vibrant colors danced across the sky, a reflection of my own emerging warmth. For the first time in what felt like forever, I was filled with a sense of purpose. Yet just as the laughter rose, a small clenching of doubt returned. What if this was all a dream? What if I could not keep up? Would I falter under the weight of expectation? Listen, I said, surprising myself with the sudden gravity in my tone. I want you both to promise me something. If things ever feel like they're becoming too much, you have to tell me. I want to take it personally. We're in this together. Mike nodded slowly, genuinely. I promise. Clara beamed, and as her smile widened, it lit up something deep in my heart. But underneath, I realized we were balancing on a precipice. What if I let them down again? What if the trip tested bonds we had struggled to rebuild? In that moment, the unease lingered in the corners of the room. Yet as my family leaned in closer, the connection sparked again, igniting hope and healing. I felt a decision deep within me that this trip could lead us back to one another. Was this truly the beginning of a new chapter, or was it simply a mirage, waiting to fade into the night? The following weeks were a whirlwind of planning and excitement. Together, we pored over maps, discussed activities, and relived old family stories that brought laughter and warmth. Each day brought a little more optimism, a little more hope. Yet, beneath the surface, I still felt the apprehension lurking, waiting to rear its head when I least expected it. One crisp Saturday morning, I drove us to a local park to enjoy a picnic. The sun shone brightly, and I could hear the distant laughter of families around us. Clara carried the basket while Mike set up the blanket. As I helped arrange the food, I watched them. They looked so happy, so carefree. I wanted to share in that joy, to be the father they deserved, but doubts crept back, and what if my limitations held them back? Everything looks amazing, Dad, Clara said, her eyes bright. I forced a smile, even as the knot tightened in my stomach. I think I might have gone overboard with the sandwiches. Good. We'll have plenty for everyone, Clara teased, reaching for a turkey sandwich. Mike sat down and began pouring drinks. The more, the merrier, he said. Plus, if we run out, we can always head to that little deli around the corner. Best sandwiches in town. As we laughed and shared stories from our past, I felt the tension in my chest begin to ease. The conversations flowed, weaving our memories together. I remembered the camping trips, the laughter around the campfire, the countless times we played catch in the backyard. I used to think Dad was some kind of superhero back then, Clara joked. He could do anything, except start a campfire with his hands. Mike chimed in, laughter bubbling up again. I chuckled alongside them. But the laughter faded into a silence that carried weight. Clara leaned closer, her brow slightly furrowed. You know we can handle this, right? Whatever happens on the trip, we'll be there to support each other. Her words settled deep in my heart. It's just I don't want to drag you down. What if I can't keep up? As long as you're there, we'll be fine, Mike said firmly, locking eyes with me. Remember, it's about being together. Moving forward. We're all in this. I nodded, but the unease tried to creep in again. There was so much change ahead. Could I handle it? As we finished eating and took in the afternoon sun, Clara suggested we play a game. We settled into a silly trivia contest, and for a moment, it didn't matter what happened in the future. I was right there, sharing joy with my children. The laughter felt healing. Later, as we were packing up, Clara looked at me, her gaze softening. You know, Dad, it's okay to be scared. You've been through a lot. I guess I just don't want to let you down again, I said, my voice barely a whisper. You won tea, Clara answered, determination ringing in her voice. This is a fresh start. Those words echoed inside me as we headed back to the car. A promising new future was laid out before us, yet I still felt a tremor of fear underneath the surface. What awaited us on that trip? Could I truly rise to the occasion? As we drove home, I couldn't shake off the nagging thought. What if my struggles ended up pulling them back into my past? The scenic view outside the window blurred into a kaleidoscope of color, reflecting my inner turmoil. This journey was meant to heal us. But was I ready for what lay ahead? Would I be the father they needed, or would old habits drag us all down again? The road seemed to twist and turn infinitely ahead, much like the unknown that awaited us. Would we emerge stronger together, or would the shadows of my past overshadow the light of this new beginning? The days melted into each other like the colors of a sunset, and as the departure date drew closer, I felt pulled between excitement and fear. The packing list was growing shorter. Soon, we would be on the road to the cabin that had grown into a symbol of our new beginning. But as Clara and Mike hummed with anticipation, I wrestled with the doubts that clouded my mind. That evening, I found myself sitting alone on the back porch, the air thick with the scent of pine and fresh grass. I could hear the faint sounds of children playing down the street, a laughter I longed to be part of yet. A heaviness weighed against my chest. What if my presence became an obstacle? As I looked up at the vast sky, I tried to quiet those thoughts. I focused on the stars twinkling above, each one a reminder of hope. Clara stepped outside with a light jacket draped over her shoulders. Hey, Dad, she said softly, joining me on the swing. What are you thinking about? Just how nice it is out here. It feels different, doesn't it? Like everything is shifting. She nodded, her expression serious. It's a big change, but you're a part of it. We all are. I just worry, I admitted, my voice trembling slightly. What if I get tired or can't handle it? I don't want to slow you guys down. Dad, she said, holding my hand. It's not about how fast we move. It's about being together. We'll figure it out as we go. You don't have to carry everything on your own. Her words were grounding, yet the fear still buzzed in the back of my mind. But hearing her, a light flickered in me. Maybe I could lean on them, just like they were offering. Thanks, Clara. I guess I just need to trust myself. That's it, she exclaimed, her smile brightening the night. You've done so much already. It's okay to be scared. It just means you care. I chuckled softly, a little more at ease now. I guess I forgot that sometimes fear and courage can be friends. It's hard to see that. She squeezed my hand. Exactly. And you're not alone in this. Remember when we took that road trip to the beach? We got lost, but ended up discovering that little cafe with the best milkshakes? Yeah, you and Mike insisted on singing the whole way. I thought I was going to lose my voice. Her laughter was like music, and it turned into one of the best memories. The journey is what matters. As we sat together, I started to believe her words. This trip could be ours, a chance to create new memories and rewrite old stories. The fear didn't disappear, but it became quieter as the warmth of hope filled the gaps. The days leading to our departure passed quickly. The car was loaded with snacks, laughter, and the promise of fresh starts. But hidden in the back of my mind was an old fear, the kind that lingers and keeps you awake at night. What if I couldn't handle whatever lay ahead? With our bags packed, Clara hugged me fiercely before we set out early the next morning. The sunrise painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, a perfect backdrop for what we hoped would be an unforgettable adventure. My heart raced with a mix of anxiety and excitement as we hit the road. I looked at my children beside me. They were my anchor, and for the first time in a long time, I felt the pull of possibility. We sang along to the music, and I let the rhythm wash over me. The winding road stretched ahead, but my throat tightened with a new worry. Was my past truly behind me, or was it waiting around the next bend? I took a deep breath and looked ahead, unsure of what the journey would reveal. Each twist felt like a step into the unknown. Would the weight of my history find a way to haunt me again, or could I embrace this new chapter alongside my kids? As we drove on, I felt the world around us shift and change, just as I was trying to. I wasn't sure of all that lay ahead, but perhaps the best stories are written in the moments of uncertainty. What awaited us at the cabin? Would I find the strength to overcome what loomed on the horizon? The sun climbed higher as we drove, its rays spilling over the hills and tumbling into the valleys we passed through. I felt the warmth seep into the car, easing the tension in my muscles. Clara and Mike were in the back seat, engaged in a light-hearted debate over what playlist we should play next. Laughter ricocheted off the walls of the car, weaving a comforting cocoon around us. "Dad, come on, what do you think?" Clara asked, her eyes sparkling as she turned to me, awaiting my verdict. I smiled, the knot in my chest loosening just a little. "I think any playlist that keeps you two singing is a good one." Mike rolled his eyes playfully. "We're definitely not going to sing Old Town Road again, are we?" "Hey, that was a classic," Clara shot back, her voice full of mock indignation. As we navigated the turns of the road, the scenery shifted from the dense city to the sprawling countryside. Vast fields stretched out beside us, dotted with patches of wildflowers swaying in the breeze. Each mile pulled the weight off my shoulders. The anticipation of reaching the cabin built like the cresting of a wave ready to crash. But as much as I tried to relish the moment, my thoughts slipped back to the past. Would these memories be overshadowed by ghosts lurking in the shadows? I could almost hear echoes of my mistakes, reminding me of times when I had faltered, times when I had pushed them away. I shook my head, trying to clear the cobwebs of doubt. "Let us take a quick stop," Clara exclaimed suddenly, eyes darting to a sign by the roadside. "There's a great viewpoint up ahead. The river is supposed to be beautiful." "Sounds perfect," Mike chimed in. We pulled into a small parking area that led to a viewpoint overlooking a sparkling river, snaking through the valley below. There was a bench where a couple shared a quiet moment, their fingers intertwined. I felt a pang of yearning for that kind of connection, but I brushed it aside. This was about my kids and our journey. As we walked to the edge, I let the fresh air fill my lungs, the stillness calming the storm brewing inside me. Clara skipped ahead, her curiosity boundless. Mike lagged back, nudging me lightly with his shoulder. "You doing okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," I admitted, looking out over the water glistening in the sun. "Worried about the cabin?" he asked, his voice soft but reassuring. "What if I can't keep up?" I confessed, allowing the vulnerability to flow. "What if whatever I've been running from finds me there?" Mike nodded knowingly. "Dad, we'll be there with you. Remember, it's about the moments, not the speed. You faced a lot, you are stronger than you think. And we believe in you." His words hung in the air, pulling something deep within me. I realized I didn't have to put on a brave face all the time. Leaning into my kids, allowing them to support me, felt like a breakthrough I didn't know I needed. "Thanks, buddy," I replied, my voice thick with emotion. A wide smile broke across his face, and for a fleeting moment, I felt lighter, closer to the viewpoint. Clara had found a perfect spot. She waved us over, her face radiant with delight. "Look, it's so amazing." As I looked out over the water, something inside me clicked. This was beautiful, a fresh start unfurling before us. The road ahead was uncertain, but I realized that together, we could embrace whatever challenges lay ahead. A sudden chill wafted through the air, shadows flickering over the ground. Closer to the edge, I spotted something unsettling, a reflection not just in the water, but in the depths of my own thoughts. It stirred fears I thought had been tucked away. What was that? I murmured, unnerved. The fears whispered louder, but I stood firm, determined to not let them drown out the joy in my children's laughter. As we began to head back to the car, I felt a deeper resolve forming within me. Perhaps my past wouldn't define me. I could navigate this new chapter. But still, a question nagged at me: what lay beyond the next bend? Just as Clara hopped back in the car, her eyes lit with excitement, I heard a voice call out from behind, "Hey, are you guys heading to the cabin?" I turned, and my heart dropped. A familiar face from my past stood there, every fear with it. Could this be the encounter that tested the very strength I was trying to nurture? Everything inside me froze as I locked eyes with the figure standing a few feet away. It was Jake, an old friend from a life I thought I'd left behind. He was leaner than I remembered, his hair peppered with gray, but still bore the unmistakable warmth that had always drawn people to him. I hadn't expected to see him here, or anywhere, for that matter. "Jake?" I managed, my voice barely rising above a whisper. Clara and Mike turned towards me, confused. I could feel their eyes darting between us, trying to comprehend the sudden disruption in our little bubble of joy. "Wow, it's been ages. You look..." Jake trailed off, searching for the right words. "Good. Really good. Thanks," I replied, forcing a smile even though my heart raced with apprehension. Old memories swarmed around me like bees, some sweet, others sharp as stingers. "You heading to the cabin?" Jake continued, his voice casual, but I could hear the layers beneath it. The weight of years lost between us, of unsaid things and unresolved issues, clung heavily in the air. "We are," Clara chimed in, stepping forward with that youthful enthusiasm that reminded me why we were here. "It's a family retreat. Just us, definitely looking for some time to connect." Mike nudged me, his eyes silently questioning just how I'd respond. I knew Jake was barely a ghost from my past, but seeing him now felt like a jagged edge pressing against that fragile progress I'd begun to make. "Sounds perfect," Jake replied, his smile widening. "I actually own a little place not far from there. We should catch up, maybe grab a drink. I've missed our talks." His words hit hard, cutting through the air like a knife. I thought of my kids, of wanting to protect them from the storms of my past, while embracing this chance at healing my future. The idea of reopening old wounds danced uneasily in my mind, but the warmth of Jake's gaze pulled at my resolve. Maybe," I said hesitantly, casting a glance back at Clara and Mike. They were listening quietly, their expressions urging me on. "I need to handle a few things first, but we'll be around. We could use some friendly advice from you," Mike added, a teasing lilt in his voice, trying to break the tension. I appreciated it, but could feel the tightening in my gut. "Sure," Jake said, looking hopeful and a little too eager. "Let us make it happen. I hope this trip brings you all some peace." His words echoed in my heart. Peace, that was the goal, wasn't it? As I watched Jake move away, a mix of worry and nostalgia flooded my chest. Could I reconcile with my past and embrace my future? Would Jake's presence complicate or help my journey? As we resumed our drive, silence cloaked the car. Clara played with her phone, while Mike stared out the window, the mood shifting palpably. "What was that about?" Clara asked, breaking the quiet. "Just an old friend," I said lightly, but the weight of my admission hung heavy between us. "Doesn't seem like just a friend," Mike interjected, his gaze sharpening in my direction. "Are you okay with him being around again?" "I don't know yet," I replied, turning my focus back to the road. "But I'll figure it out." The cabin loomed ahead, more than just a building. It was a sanctuary soaked in promise. The land whispered of second chances. But that voice from my past lingered, creeping toward the edges of my consciousness. What truths would it bring to the surface? Just as we approached the cabin, my phone buzzed violently like a storm warning. I glanced down at the screen, and my breath caught in my throat. The message was from Jake. "Let us talk. There's something you need to know, something I never told you." What could he possibly say? And did I even want to hear it? The cabin stood before them, nestled among the trees like a timeless secret waiting to be discovered. Mike and Clara hopped out of the car, exhilaration emanating from their smiles, while I stood frozen for a moment, absorbing the mixed feelings swirling inside me. The promise of healing and connection brushed against the weight of unspoken truths, and I hesitated. "Come on, Dad," Clara called out, her laughter breaking the tension, knotting my stomach. I stepped forward, joining them, But my mind raced back to Jake's message. Was this the moment I'd finally confront my demons? Or was this just another tick on a long list of uncertainties that held the past captive? Inside the cabin, sunlight filtered through the windows, casting soft warmth across the wooden floors. Memories of family trips surged forth like the river I had seen earlier. The scent of pine wafted through, grounding me. With every step, I wanted to dissolve into the atmosphere, but my heart weighed heavy. "Let us unpack," Mike exclaimed, his enthusiasm infectious. He pulled Clara toward the kitchen to sort through snacks. I watched them, feeling warmth stirred deep within me. "Dad," Clara peered back, a hint of mischief in her smile. "Help. We need the strongest member of our team." "I guess I can lend a hand," I replied, forcing a smile even as my thoughts tugged me down different paths. I joined them, and as we unpacked, laughter flowed freely, filling the cabin with light. The air felt different. The storm brewing in my heart quieted, even if just for a moment. That evening, we gathered around the fire pit. The flames danced before us, flickering shadows weaving tales of times long gone. We toasted marshmallows, creating new family traditions as I watched Clara and Mike delight in the simple joys. "Let us tell stories from when we were younger," Clara suggested, her eyes sparkling with energy. I hesitated. My memories were often tinged with regret. But as they began swapping tales of childhood mishaps, their laughter broke through the remaining remnants of my fears. "Remember that time Dad tried to teach us how to fish and ended up falling in?" Mike chuckled. "It was extremely embarrassing." I laughed along, feeling their lightness wrap around me like a cozy blanket. I realized that while my past had its shadows, it was also painted with vibrant memories that resonated with love. Time moved fluidly as we shared more stories. Even in the darkness, I began to feel lighter. Perhaps my fears could coexist with joy. Perhaps Jake's message could still be addressed later without overshadowing this moment, this sense of family. Just then, my phone buzzed yet again, another message. My courage trembled. "What did you need to tell me, Jake?" I whispered to myself, feeling the moment that needed to happen between me and my past had not quite arrived. "Dad," Clara's voice broke my reverie. "You okay? You've been quiet." "Yeah, just catching up with my thoughts," I replied, steadying my breath. "Everything just feels so right." She smiled, relief washing over her features. "That's what matters. I think we all needed this." The moment lingered, and I leaned back into the warmth of the fire, a mosaic of hope illuminating the air around us. In that stillness, I felt the promise of new beginnings laid out before me like the vast starlit sky overhead. As the flames crackled and the darkness deepened, I made a decision. I would reach out to Jake not to revisit old wounds, but to make peace with the past. I wouldn't let the whispers of fear drown out this moment of connection I was forging with my children. Their laughter was the armor I needed to face what lay ahead. The next day, we planned a small hike together. The sun smiled warmly, and the laughter of the trio echoed through the shimmering leaves around us. We took our time, savoring the beautiful scenery. Soon we were exhausted but exhilarated, and as we sat on a log, taking a break, Mike nudged my shoulder. "So, what is the plan for dinner tonight? How about a family cook-off?" I suggested, glancing at their gleaming eyes. "Each of us can make our best dish," Clara squealed. "I'm so in. Just don't try to burn anything down this time, Dad." As we shared laughter, I realized so much had changed in that short time. We were no longer just a family in the realm of obligation. We were a family blossoming into possibility. As dusk fell, I caught sight of my phone, and with it, a rush of resolve surged within me. Tonight, I text Jake and set up a casual meeting, not to escape this moment of joy, but to pave the way for true healing. "Let us go back," I said to my kids, returning to the cabin. "We have some cooking to plan." They cheered and raced ahead, bounding into our shared future. As I followed, I embraced the uncertainty ahead. Every twist and turn on this road was a chance for growth. I wasn't just a father trying to hold tight to his past anymore. I was a man willing to embrace love and hope for what truly mattered: family. Because now, I realized, the past could be a teacher, but it would never again be my captor. And as we moved forward together, ready to face the new adventures on our horizon, I felt whole. I was ready to face whatever came next, with Mike and Clara right by my side. Together, we could rise above anything. Together, we could embrace the joy of new beginnings. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share.